A lot of what you do in the beginning is actually laying out the characters.
The backstory can be somewhat fluid, but you're going to want a little bit of a backstory so you have some idea on what the characters are going to do. A lot of this will come through the gameplay. Like you're building up teams that are going to run the different characters. Well, make sure that one of the members of that team, at least one, tends to be here every ICW, because you're going to want to have continuity. You're going to want to try to stay within the character's province, which means that the druid is not going to be the one that suddenly thinks, oh, we should check this room for traps. That would typically be someone that's more involved with that, which could be the dwarf, it could be your thief. It doesn't mean the druid won't think of that, but if you want to be a thiefish kind of person, be on the thief team. If you want to be on the druid team, then approach the game as a druid and tend to make your suggestions based on what a druid would be interested in doing. I think we should have the 30 run somewhere between 6 and 8 characters.
8 is my maximum, that's what I'd like to have.
Alright,
so let's have one of the characters.
Well, here, we've set these aside as potential characters.
Okay, let's vote. Even though the druid will be slightly ineffective downstairs, do we want the underground? Do we want the druid in the party? Does everyone want the druid in the party? Let's get a vote. So druid, yes or no?
And that would be the druid there?
This is the druid.
Not that it should affect your vote, but it is a cool looking figurine.
Yeah, it's a very cool looking figurine.
Which actually should.
I'll see if I can hold it up.
Be your
Many yeses.
your main deciding
There's
factor.
the druid right there. Now,
your magic users are going to be underplayed slightly because I don't want to see us get involved in massive amounts of paperwork.
cleric here if needed.
We should have a cleric.
Okay, one cleric for resurrection anyway. Here's the thief, great thief.
Okay, we have our thief.
Here's a wizard here.
Yeah, wizard I'm not.
And this guy here is cloaked. He has a sword, no shield. More like a not a dagger, but more like a dirt warrior.
No, we have to have a dwarf in the party.
I have a dwarf here someplace.
And the dwarf,
here's our dwarf.
And he can be a warrior.
He's a warrior, but he also is a slight magic user. He's a magic user for underground things. And I would want a hobbit or not for silence.
That would depend on your party, because
I'll put him there as impossible. Here's your paladin here, and here's your paladin here.
Let's leave those out. Okay. We can have them be captives down in the dungeon if we wish.
What do we actually need more? What race do we need a lot of?
We could use a gnome or a hobbit just for the. That's 8. Okay, that's our characters then.
All right.
Okay, here we have the druid. That's
clear.
That's very clear. Here we have our thief, equally clear.
Okay.
Here we have our cleric. Not a problem there. Female warrior.
Right.
And
yes, and this guy here is the ranger now.
right.
That's right.
So we have a ranger, and then we have
Dwarf. And this is we have a hobbit as a thief. And then we have the sword.
But we didn't actually say what the hobbit's class was.
He's a combination thief and
Who's part orc,
and
part
silent.
hobbit.
No, that's a different guy. I put it less
Put him back?
complicated. Yeah, he's just a plain hobbit.
So the hobbit, and he's what? Part thief?
Standard hobbit, part thief and part silent.
Well,
it's to the thieves' great shame he was born in wedlock. Yeah, we do not have an assassin at this point. You want to follow D2, we could put an assassin in here. We could have follow those things, have a sword and assassin.
I'm just trying to figure out what, I mean, silent is not a class.
He's in mortar. So go to dungeonparty.com and you should see that photograph. Right back.
Because you can actually use this as a form of prognostication, a form of penetration. Based on your actions, based on the actions of the dice, based on the actions of the game master. Oh, thank you.
I read the call. I'll ask her to
We know that the Hobbit has some thieving capabilities, but we really don't know what the Hobbit is. It's not been delineated.
All we know is there's more to him than meets the eye.
Yeah, there's a certain ambiguity in the character. The cleric is a cleric. It's very clear the cleric. Yeah, there's a certain ambiguity in the character. The cleric is a cleric. It's very clear the cleric's a cleric. The druid, it's very clear the druid's a druid. The dwarf, actually dwarf is kind of a class. Dwarves have very high warrior qualities, but they also are good mechanically, so they can do some thieving. That's just by virtue of being a dwarf. They can fabricate. They can definitely fabricate. If you need somebody to whip together a torch out of stuff in the dungeon, your dwarf would be not the man for the job, but the dwarf for the job. The female warrior is pretty cut and dry. Female warrior, hacking and slashing and hewing, definitely high on the agenda. The ranger is a bit of is like a rogue. Rogue warrior would be your ranger. And for this, you could just look to the movie and get a good idea of what a ranger is like. Your magic users are not going to be very good at hacking and hewing. Everyone has to have some capability in that regard, but it's not going to be their specialty for sure. And the Hobbit, we've already said, is uncertain. It's actually pretty much the only character that is non-delineated in that way at this time.